Have you ever questioned what happens after we die? For centuries, humanity has painted a picture of a celestial paradise known as heaven. But is this place as real as many believe? Or is it a comforting construct of the human imagination? Today, we're diving deep into the controversial question, is heaven not for real? Stick around as we unravel historical, philosophical, and spiritual perspectives that challenge one of humanity's most enduring beliefs. All right, let's dive into this. The concept of heaven is a captivating story, but it's woven together from layers of ancient beliefs and cultural influences, not solid evidence. For centuries, humans have shaped the idea of an ultimate paradise, a perfect afterlife where suffering ends and peace reigns. Sounds incredible, right? But here's the thing: when we start peeling back the layers, we discover that this vision of heaven is more a creation of human imagination and historical context than an undeniable truth. The idea of heaven didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's actually a relatively late addition in the timeline of human beliefs. If we look back at the earliest records, like those of the ancient Sumerians, Egyptians, and even early Jewish texts, there wasn't this grand idea of a blissful afterlife. Back then, people were more focused on survival and keeping their gods happy than dreaming of eternal paradise. Even the Bible, especially in its oldest sections, doesn't guarantee heaven for everyone. In fact, the Old Testament often references Sheol, a shadowy, neutral underworld where everyone ends up, good or bad. There's no bright, perfect paradise waiting there, just a somber, quiet existence. Picture this: no light, no rewards, no punishments, just a quiet resting place. That's how the afterlife was often imagined in early human history. It wasn't until later, as societies grew and evolved, that the concept of a moralized heaven began to take shape. By the time the New Testament rolled around, society had changed. People craved hope, something greater than the cycle of living, suffering, and dying. That's when the heaven we recognize today started to emerge, a paradise where the righteous would be rewarded for eternity. But here's the twist: heaven wasn't so much discovered as it was developed. Human cultures across the world have invented their own versions of paradise. The Elysian Fields in Greek mythology, Valhalla in Norse lore, each reflects a desire for something better beyond life's struggles. It seems that whenever people faced hardship, they dreamed of a perfect, blissful afterlife. So, what does this mean for us? Is heaven simply a coping mechanism? A way to soothe the existential dread of life's impermanence? Humans have always sought comfort from the harsh realities of existence, and heaven is the ultimate form of that comfort. But here's the catch: comfort and truth aren't the same thing. Just because we want something to be real doesn't mean it is. Just because we crave something doesn't mean it's real. And when it comes to heaven, here's the key: our belief in a cosmic paradise is rooted in psychology, not proof. The concept of heaven taps into one of humanity's most powerful coping mechanisms. It meets a deep, universal need, the need to believe there's more to life than what we see and experience here and now. But this isn't just about religion. It's about how the human mind handles the fear of death and the unknown. Psychologists have studied this for decades, and the findings are clear. Believing in heaven brings emotional comfort, especially during times of hardship or loss. The idea of eternal peace or reuniting with loved ones offers a sense of control in a chaotic, unpredictable world. For many, it's a source of hope when nothing else seems certain. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Strip away the need for comfort, and what's left? A gap. A void not filled by evidence, but by our own need for security. The belief in an afterlife isn't just about hope, it's like a built-in safety net for the mind, a psychological buffer against the ultimate uncertainty of existence. The reality of mortality is hard to face. The idea of heaven eases that fear, softens life's harsh edges, and gives people hope that their struggles have meaning. But here's the issue: this need for heaven comes from within us, not from any external proof that it exists. From an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, answers, and a sense of purpose. When faced with the ultimate question, what happens when we die? The mind fills the gap with stories of heaven, offering a vision of perfect peace that conveniently aligns with our deepest desires. But here's something we don't discuss enough: how the concept of heaven has been used as a tool. For centuries, religious institutions have leveraged this promise of paradise to maintain control. Heaven isn't just a promise of eternal peace, it's a powerful incentive, a way to influence behavior. Historically, heaven has served as a reward system, encouraging obedience and discouraging dissent or independent thought that might challenge religious authority. It's been wielded to ensure compliance, reinforce specific actions, and secure loyalty to organized religion's leadership. Heaven, in this sense, hasn't just been a comfort, it's been a means of control. During the Middle Ages in Europe, the Church didn't just control spiritual beliefs, it dominated nearly every aspect of daily life. With immense political and social power, it shaped laws, influenced kings, and even dictated wars. The promise of heaven wasn't merely about comfort, it was a tool for control. Heaven was framed as the ultimate reward, a prize reserved for those who followed the Church's teachings, stayed obedient, and, often, contributed generously to its causes. And if heaven was the carrot, hell was the stick. The threat of eternal damnation loomed over anyone who dared to question authority or stray from the path. Take the Crusades as a striking example. Ordinary people were told that by fighting in these wars, risking their lives in bloody, brutal conflicts, they would secure a guaranteed spot in heaven. Imagine the power of such a promise for people who were poor, uneducated, and struggling to survive. They didn't have much, but they were given a clear deal: fight for the Church, fight for God's cause, and eternal bliss could be theirs. But let's be honest, this wasn't about justice or righteousness. It was about leveraging faith as a means to control and mobilize the masses, using heaven as the ultimate incentive to maintain power. To understand why some argue heaven isn't real, we must explore its origins. Ancient civilizations like the Egyptians and Mesopotamians envisioned afterlife paradises tailored to their cultural values. These ideas evolved into modern-day heaven, largely shaped by religious texts like the Bible, Quran, and Torah. But skeptics argue these are allegories rather than literal truths. Could heaven simply be humanity's attempt to process the unknown and make death less terrifying? The evidence suggests it's possible. Stories of white lights, angelic beings, and feelings of peace are often cited as proof of heaven. However, science offers another explanation. Neurologists suggest these experiences are linked to chemical reactions in a dying brain. A surge of endorphins and altered consciousness can create vivid, heavenly visions. So, are these experiences glimpses of another world, or is the brain simply trying to protect itself from the trauma of death? The debate continues, but science leans toward the latter. Philosophers like Nietzsche and Bertrand Russell have questioned heaven's plausibility. They argue that the concept of eternal bliss contradicts human nature. Would an eternity without struggle or growth become meaningless? Moreover, if heaven is real, why do interpretations vary so widely across cultures and religions? Such inconsistencies suggest that heaven might not be a universal truth, but rather a subjective idea influenced by personal and cultural biases. Heaven plays a crucial role in maintaining religious order. It promises reward for good behavior and deters wrongdoings through the fear of damnation. Critics argue that this framework has been exploited for power and control throughout history. If heaven is merely a tool for societal regulation, does it hold any real substance? This perspective fuels skepticism about its actual existence. For those who doubt heaven's reality, alternative afterlife theories provide intriguing possibilities. Concepts like reincarnation, spiritual energy, or simply ceasing to exist offer different perspectives. These ideas don't rely on an eternal paradise, but focus on the cyclical or finite nature of life. Could these alternatives be closer to the truth, or do they serve the same purpose as heaven, a way to soften the finality of death? The idea of heaven has undergone a significant transformation in literature, art, and media. From Dante's Divine Comedy to Hollywood films, heaven is often depicted as a utopia of peace and beauty. However, modern interpretations frequently blur the lines between heaven as a literal place and a symbolic concept. Critics argue that these shifting portrayals reflect society's evolving understanding of spirituality rather than evidence of heaven's existence. One of the most compelling arguments against the reality of heaven is its role as psychological comfort. Facing mortality is daunting, and the concept of an afterlife provides solace in the face of life's uncertainties. This emotional need can make heaven feel real to those who believe, even if there's no tangible evidence to support its existence. Is heaven more about emotional survival than actual truth? Unlike other elements of religious belief, heaven lacks physical or scientific evidence. For centuries, people have claimed visions or divine encounters, yet none have produced verifiable proof. Modern technology has explored space and the cosmos, finding no trace of heaven's existence. While many argue that heaven exists in a separate spiritual realm, the absence of evidence fuels skepticism. Death is one of life's great unknowns, and the fear it invokes is universal. Heaven offers an escape from this fear by promising eternal life. Some experts suggest that heaven is a human construct designed to cope with the inevitable. If the concept of heaven is born out of fear rather than fact, what does this say about its validity? The concept of heaven varies significantly across cultures and religions. Christianity describes heaven as God's kingdom, while Hinduism envisions realms like Svarga or Moksha. Similarly, Buddhism focuses on nirvana, a state of liberation, rather than a physical paradise. These diverse interpretations suggest that heaven might be more of a cultural construct than a universal truth. Many argue that the belief in heaven influences moral behavior. However, critics question whether morality should rely on the promise of eternal reward. If heaven were proven to be a myth, would humanity lose its moral compass? Or would people find new, intrinsic motivations to lead ethical lives? This debate highlights the deep intertwining of heaven with societal values. The concept of eternal happiness in heaven raises several logical paradoxes. Philosophers ask, can happiness exist without challenges? If everyone in heaven is equally joyful, how can individuality persist? These paradoxes challenge the feasibility of heaven as a coherent concept, suggesting it may be more symbolic than literal. Throughout history, the idea of heaven has often been tied to social hierarchies. Religious doctrines sometimes reserve heaven for the faithful, the righteous, or even specific classes. This exclusivity raises questions about the fairness and universality of heaven. If such conditions exist, does it align with the idea of an all-loving divine presence? The existence of heaven often comes with the belief in hell. Critics argue that this duality doesn't resolve the problem of evil, but complicates it further. If heaven is for the righteous and hell for the wicked, why does so much suffering occur on earth? Such questions challenge the consistency of these doctrines. Many modern theologians and philosophers propose that heaven is not a physical place, but a metaphor for spiritual fulfillment. This interpretation aligns with the idea that heaven represents an ideal state of being rather than a tangible destination. If this is true, does the debate over heaven's existence miss the point entirely? Belief in heaven often shapes personal identity and worldview. For some, it provides purpose and direction. For others, it is a source of inner conflict. Examining heaven's role in personal development can shed light on why people cling to or reject the idea altogether. Heaven has been commodified in many ways, from religious paraphernalia to media portrayals. Critics argue that this commercialization undermines the sacredness of the concept and turns it into a product for consumption. Does this diminish heaven's spiritual significance, or does it reflect humanity's creative interpretation of the afterlife? Atheists and agnostics often view heaven as a myth rather than a reality. Some see it as a comforting story, while others criticize it as a distraction from addressing real-world problems. These perspectives provide an alternative lens to examine the implications of believing in heaven. The idea of heaven has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music. From Michelangelo's paintings to Beethoven's symphonies, heaven serves as a muse for human creativity. Whether real or imagined, its influence on culture and art is undeniable. Ultimately, the debate over heaven reflects humanity's quest for meaning. Whether viewed as a literal place, a metaphor, or a myth, heaven symbolizes our desire to understand life and death. This ongoing exploration reveals more about human nature than it does about the afterlife itself. In the age of science and reason, skepticism about heaven has grown. Advances in fields like cosmology, neurology, and psychology challenge traditional religious narratives. Modern thinkers argue that belief in heaven may reflect a reluctance to embrace the finite nature of existence. As skepticism rises, the question emerges: does the human search for meaning extend beyond the boundaries of religion, or is heaven still an essential part of this quest? For many, heaven serves as a source of hope and comfort during times of loss. The belief that loved ones reside in a peaceful afterlife helps people navigate the pain of separation. While this belief offers emotional support, critics argue it may delay acceptance of death as a natural part of life. Is heaven a healing mechanism, or does it hinder the process of moving forward? Children are often introduced to the concept of heaven at an early age, shaping their understanding of life, death, and morality. These teachings can instill hope, but may also foster fear of punishment or create unrealistic expectations. As children grow, they may question these early beliefs, leading to a reevaluation of heaven's role in their lives. In a world where many identify as spiritual but not religious, heaven has taken on new meanings. Some view it as a state of inner peace or enlightenment rather than a physical location. This shift reflects a growing trend toward individualized spirituality, where heaven becomes a personal rather than a doctrinal concept. The universal desire for an afterlife suggests a shared human experience across cultures. While interpretations of heaven differ, the underlying hope for something beyond death unites people. This commonality could serve as a bridge for interfaith dialogue and mutual understanding, highlighting our shared humanity rather than dividing us by dogma. With advancements in virtual reality and digital simulations, the idea of creating a heavenly experience on Earth is no longer far-fetched. Some tech visionaries envision virtual heavens where individuals can live out idyllic scenarios indefinitely. While this raises ethical and philosophical questions, it also redefines what heaven could mean in a digital age. The pursuit of immortality, whether through technological innovations or spiritual practices, mirrors humanity's longing for heaven. Transhumanist movements seek to extend life indefinitely, offering a modern alternative to traditional afterlife beliefs. Does this quest diminish the need for heaven, or does it signify the same yearning in a different form? Art and storytelling have long been vehicles for exploring the concept of heaven. From Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel to modern films like What Dreams May Come, creative interpretations shape public perception of the afterlife. These works often blur the lines between faith and imagination, inviting us to consider the boundaries of belief. The promise of heaven has often been used to address earthly injustices, offering hope to the oppressed. However, critics argue this can perpetuate complacency by focusing on rewards in the afterlife rather than addressing systemic issues in the present. Should the idea of heaven inspire change here and now, or does it distract from creating a better world? Science fiction frequently explores heaven through futuristic and extraterrestrial lenses. Stories of advanced civilizations creating utopian environments challenge traditional religious ideas. These narratives push the boundaries of imagination, asking, could humanity one day create its version of heaven through technology? The concept of heaven often leads to ethical questions about who gets in and why. Do good deeds alone grant entry, or is faith the key? Such criteria can spark debates about fairness, inclusion, and the true nature of divine justice. These dilemmas highlight the complexities of imagining a perfect afterlife. For some, the idea of heaven can inspire stewardship of earth. The belief in divine creation encourages efforts to preserve the planet. On the flip side, critics argue that focusing on an afterlife can lead to neglect of environmental issues, as some may see Earth as a temporary stop rather than a lasting home. The imagery of heaven often mirrors humanity's deepest desires: peace, love, abundance, and freedom from pain. Psychologists suggest that these visions are projections of what we lack or yearn for in life. If heaven reflects our ideals, does that make it any less meaningful, even if it's not real? Throughout history, heaven has been used as a political tool to justify wars, colonization, and social hierarchies. Promises of heavenly rewards motivated crusaders, while threats of eternal damnation enforced obedience. This manipulation raises questions about the sincerity of heaven as a spiritual concept versus its role in power dynamics. From John Milton's Paradise Lost to modern novels like Mitch Albom's The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, literature provides diverse interpretations of the afterlife. These works invite readers to explore their beliefs and question the nature of heaven, blending theology with artistic expression. Welcome to Blessovia Science TV, where we take you on an exhilarating journey through the cosmos and unravel the mysteries of science. We are excited to offer you the opportunity to become a valued member of our ever-growing community of cosmic enthusiasts and knowledge seekers. Exclusive access to cosmic content. As a member of Blessovia Science TV, you will gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of cosmic content, including documentaries, interviews with leading scientists, space missions updates, and awe-inspiring visualizations of the universe, live Q, and sessions with experts. Your membership will grant you the chance to participate in live Q and sessions with renowned scientists, astronomers, and space explorers. Get your burning questions answered by those who push the boundaries of human knowledge. Embark on a journey that spans the cosmos and join us in unraveling the secrets of the universe. Become a Blessovia Science TV member today, and together we will reach for the stars. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.